It is often said that the most dangerous predators are the ones hiding in plain sight. There's a reason people trust uniforms, a badge, a calm voice, a composed face. They represent safety, protection, authority. And because of that, we don't question them. In the quiet industrial city of Angarsk, deep inside Siberia, life followed a routine. Factory shifts, cold mornings, endless winters, nothing unusual, nothing dangerous. At least, that's what people believed. Because somewhere in that same city, moving silently through the streets, was a man who had already begun hunting. The first body was discovered just outside the city. A young woman lying in the snow, alone, brutalized, left behind, as if she had never mattered. At first, it didn't alarm anyone. Russia was collapsing, crime was everywhere. One more body, but didn't seem important. But then another appeared, and then another, and then another. Different locations, different times, no witnesses, no clear connection. It looked random, but it wasn't, because something about these killings felt wrong. This wasn't panic. This wasn't desperation. This was controlled, deliberate, personal. Forensic examiners began noticing disturbing details. The weapons were never the same. Axes, hammers, screwdrivers, not planned weapons, available ones, which meant he wasn't improvising. He was comfortable. The media slowly began whispering a name, at first quietly, then everywhere. The werewolf, because whatever was doing this didn't feel human anymore. And yet, there was something even more terrifying. The victims weren't being taken by force. No struggle, no screaming, no witnesses. They weren't being chased. They were getting inside. Imagine this. It's 2 a.m. The temperature is far below freezing. Public transport is gone. The streets are empty, silent. You're alone, trying to get home. And then, a car slows down beside you. A man speaks calmly, offers you a ride. You hesitate, and then you see it. A police vehicle, a uniform, a badge. And just like that, your fear disappears because you trust what you see. You open the door. You sit down. The warmth hits your face. You think you're safe. The conversation begins normally. Calm, routine, nothing unusual until you notice something. The road feels unfamiliar. You look outside. The streetlights are gone. The city is disappearing. You ask a question. No answer. You ask again. And that's when it hits you. The silence. The shift. The realization that something is wrong. The doors are locked. The man isn't smiling anymore. And suddenly you understand this isn't a ride. It's a trap. Miles away from the city, deep inside the Siberian forest, the truth reveals itself. This wasn't random. This was ritual. He didn't just kill. He took control, complete control. And when it was over, he left them there, buried beneath snow, forgotten, as if they had never existed. And then he went back. Back to the city, back to normal life. He cleaned the car, finished his shift, went home. A husband, a father, a colleague, trusted, respected, invisible. Because the man responsible for all of this wasn't hiding from the police. He was part of it. And once you understand what that really means, you may never trust a uniform the same way again. This is the story of Mikhail Viktorovich Popkov, a police officer, a man who stood at crime scenes, watching investigators search for a monster they didn't realize was standing right beside them, listening, learning, adapting. For years, he stayed ahead. Not because he was lucky, but because no one was looking for him. And that's what made him dangerous. Not just the violence, not just the brutality, but the fact that he understood trust and used it as a weapon. For nearly 20 years, he remained invisible until one day, something changed. Something small, something almost impossible to notice. A mistake. And that single mistake would unravel everything. By the late 1990s, fear had already taken root. Not loud, not visible, but everywhere. The bodies kept appearing, scattered, forgotten, disconnected. And with every new discovery, the same question returned: who was doing this? But no one had an answer, because the system itself was broken. Russia was still reeling from the collapse of the Soviet Union. Resources were limited, departments were overwhelmed, and most importantly, they were isolated. Each district handled its own cases, independently, separately. Files were written on typewriters, stored in dusty folders, and locked away in cabinets that no one else would ever open. There was no central database, no shared intelligence, no connection between crimes. One department saw a robbery, another saw a domestic dispute, another saw nothing at all, and because of that, the pattern stayed hidden, exactly how he wanted it. Because while investigators were searching for a killer, the killer was standing right beside them. Mikhail Viktorovich Popkov, a junior sergeant, assigned to patrol, assigned to protect, assigned to his own crime scenes. Think about that. A detective kneels beside a frozen body, trying to understand the violence, trying to imagine the mind behind it. And just a few feet away, holding the perimeter tape, keeping civilians back, standing perfectly still, is the man who did it. Listening, watching, learning. He wasn't hiding from the investigation, he was studying it. Every theory, every mistake, every assumption, and he adjusted. If investigators looked for a specific weapon, he changed it. If they searched for fibers, he destroyed them. If they got close, he moved faster. He turned his training into a weapon and the entire police system into his shield, because he knew exactly what they knew. But no matter how careful someone is, the world always leaves behind something, a mark, a trace, a mistake, and in his case, it wasn't blood, it was the ground beneath him, deep inside remote forest areas where the soil had once been soft before freezing over. Something had been preserved, tire tracks, ignored, forgotten, until someone finally looked closer. When experts analyzed the patterns, everything changed. The vehicle wasn't random, it wasn't civilian, it was official, a Lada Niva, a vehicle used by police, military, government patrol units. And in that moment, the entire investigation shifted, because the implication was clear. The killer was one of them. From that point forward, nothing could be trusted. Not the system, not the badge, not even the men leading the investigation. Because the predator was inside the house. Traditional methods were useless now. If the killer was a cop, he would see every move coming. So they needed something different, something absolute, a net so wide that no one could escape it. A mass DNA operation. Every officer, every retired officer, every security worker, every man with access to official vehicles between 1992 and 2011 tested thousands of samples, collected, processed, analyzed, and for the first time, the pressure began to build, not on the investigators, on him, Mikhail Viktorovich Popkov, because he understood something very clearly. In the 1990s, he was invisible, but now science had caught up. DNA didn't guess, it proved, and the moment he gave a sample, everything would end, so he made a decision. He didn't show up, no explanation, no delay. He simply disappeared. Packed a bag, left quietly, boarded a train, heading east, toward distance, toward anonymity, toward escape. Or at least that's what he believed, because by now the investigators had noticed something, a missing file, a name that should have been there but wasn't, and suddenly the invisible man was visible. June 23, 2012. The train slowed down as it entered a station. Inside, passengers sat quietly, unaware, until suddenly everything changed. Armed agents moved in, fast, controlled. They walked straight through the carriage, not searching, not guessing. They already knew, and there he was, sitting by the window, calm, still, not running, not hiding, waiting. After 20 years of killing, after decades of deception, after outsmarting an entire system, it ended like this, Silent, simple, final. They surrounded him. No resistance, no panic, just a quiet expression. He looked at them, took a breath, and smiled. Because in that moment, the mask was gone, and what remained was something far more dangerous. Because catching him was only the beginning. What he would reveal next would be far worse than anyone imagined. When he was finally brought into the interrogation room, everything should have been over. After 20 years of killing, after decades of hiding in plain sight, after escaping suspicion again and again, this was the moment where the truth was supposed to end. Investigators were ready. They expected resistance, denial, silence, because that's what experienced criminals do. They delay, they manipulate, they protect themselves. But Mikhail Popkov did something no one expected. He started talking, not slowly, not carefully, freely, as if he had been waiting for this moment. And as the words began to come out, the room changed, because this wasn't just a confession, it was a window into something deeply broken. There was no emotion, no hesitation, no regret. He spoke calmly, clearly, precisely, like a man describing routine work. At first, the number seemed finite. 22 murders, 2 attempted, enough to define him as a monster, enough to end the case. In 2015, he was sentenced to life imprisonment, and for a brief moment, people believed it was over, that the nightmare had finally ended, but they were wrong. Because for Popkov, this wasn't the end, it was control. 2 years later, from inside a maximum security cell, he spoke again. And this time, he didn't add a detail. He changed everything. I remember more, not one, not two, dozens, more bodies, more locations, more victims that no one had ever found. Investigators hesitated because serial killers lie. They exaggerate, they manipulate. But something about him felt different. So they tested it. They gave him a map, and he began to draw.
He has now been charged.
Calmly, confidently,
Last year,
marking forests, clearing points, hidden locations, buried deep inside the Siberian wilderness. Places no one could guess, places no one could fake. And when investigators followed those maps, they found them. Bodies, remains, skeletons that had been lost for decades, one after another. The ground began to give back the truth, and with every discovery, the scale of horror grew until the number became almost impossible to understand. In 2018, he was convicted again. Dozens more murders confirmed, another life sentence, but even that wasn't the end, because he kept talking. More confessions, more locations, more victims. The final count reached a number that placed him above all others. More than Andrei Chikatilo, more than Alexander Pichushkin, Mikhail Popkov became the most prolific serial killer in modern Russian history. One question remained. Why? Why continue for 20 years? Why so many victims? Why this level of violence? When investigators asked him directly, his answer was immediate. I was cleaning the streets, a justification, a narrative, a lie, because beneath that explanation was something far more disturbing. This wasn't justice, this wasn't morality, this was control, absolute control, a need to dominate, to overpower, to decide who lived and who didn't. Psychologists began digging into his past, and what they found wasn't a simple motive. It was a fracture, a childhood shaped by violence, an abusive, alcoholic mother, constant instability, constant fear. A boy who had no control, no escape. And over time, that powerlessness changed. It twisted, it grew into something darker. Hatred, not random, not scattered, focused. And when adulthood came, that hatred found direction. His wife, a suspicion, an affair, real or imagined, it didn't matter, because in his mind, it confirmed everything. And in that moment, the past returned, the anger, the humiliation, the helplessness. But this time, he had control, and instead of confronting it, he redirected it. Not at one person, at many. Every victim became a symbol. every act, a repetition, not of justice, but of something unresolved, something broken. And even in prison, that need for control never left, because his confessions weren't just truth, they were strategy. Each new admission meant movement, transfer, transport, time outside isolation, a temporary escape from the concrete box he lived in. For him, confession became a tool. Even behind bars, he was still playing the system, still manipulating outcomes, still in control. And then he made one final request. He asked to be released, not for freedom, for war. He offered his skills, his experience, his ability to kill, to serve on the front lines, as if violence was something he could simply redirect, as if it was a profession. The request was denied, because some lines, once crossed, cannot be undone. And so he remains there, alive, locked away, breathing the same air as the world he once hunted in. But the real horror of this story isn't just the number, it isn't just the brutality, it's the simplicity. Because he didn't look like a monster, he didn't hide in shadows, he didn't stand out. He wore a uniform, he smiled, he helped, and people trusted him. And that's what makes this terrifying. Because the next time you see someone in authority, the next time you feel safe because of a uniform, the next time you trust without question, remember this: sometimes the most dangerous predators don't hunt in the dark. They stand right in front of you. And by the time you realize it, you're already too late. And maybe that's the most disturbing part of all. Not just what he did, but how long he got away with it. Stories like this don't just end, they stay with you. If you want to hear more true crime stories like this, make sure you're subscribed, because the next story may be even more disturbing than this one.